Let's talk about the UFO congressional hearing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit scared. When I show you these clips, you're gonna understand why, okay? Like, this is real. The government is now addressing aliens/UFOs.
This is what a nasty case of sleep paralysis can do to you. This woman's husband noticed that she would do weird things in the middle of the night, especially around 3 a.m., aka the witching hour.
Let's talk about this picture. Captured in 2008 by Daniel Young, this is one of the only pieces of evidence that this encounter actually happened. So Daniel was a custodian at Myrtle Elementary School where he worked the night shift. It's a pretty routine night. He's just listening to music when he's suddenly interrupted by the sound of a woman's laughter. He turned around and was terrified when he saw an unknown woman smiling from behind the corner.
A certain aura of suspicion surrounds the Obamas. The recent death of Obama's chef has caused speculation about the potential connection to Joan Rivers passing away in 2014. This speculation has continued to spread, prompting contemplation about whether there is more to the Obamas than we know.
I'm back, it's your boy FITTIE Isaac E, and today we're going to take a look at this video today. If you guys like the video, please like the video. Let's try to get to 500 likes this video. Remember, if you guys like the chain, check the link down in the description. You can use Fittie10 for a 10% discount. The astrology bracelets and necklaces are still there, so if you're a female, a male, family member, whoever it is that likes astrology, check the link down below.
Let's talk about this picture. Captured in 2008 by Daniel Young, this is one of the only pieces of evidence that this encounter actually happened. So Daniel was a custodian at Myrtle Elementary School where he worked the night shift. It's a pretty routine night. He's just listening to music when he's suddenly interrupted by the sound of a woman's laughter. He turned around and was terrified when he saw an unknown woman smiling from behind the corner. This was a locked school on after hours, so clearly she was an adult who broke in, so he tried to snap a picture to identify her and then chases after her. But when he turned the corner, she had already darted out of an emergency exit. Later that night, police are called to a home where they arrive at a tragedy. An unknown woman had broken into a nearby home where she knifed two parents, one who was the principal of this school, so brutally they were unrecognizable. One of the daughters who witnessed this woman before she got away described her as this person. Could this photo be of the same unknown woman? And what her connection is to the school and the principal, we don't know.
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, how did she get into school? That's kind of strange. I wonder what grudge she held against the principal. She probably did something crazy.
This is what a nasty case of sleep paralysis can do to you. This woman's husband noticed that she would do weird things in the middle of the night, especially around 3 a.m., aka the witching hour. So he set up cameras, and this is what he caught. If that was me, I'm taking the baby and I'm leaving. I'm sorry. Either she's possessed or she's trying to get the sleep paralysis demon off of her chest. To be determined.
Looked more like a possession to me. I don't think anyone with sleep paralysis is going to be smiling and be happy to be in a state of sleep paralysis. I feel, from what I've heard it's really scary, so looks more of a possession.
I have a photo that I want to show you guys. But first, of course, a quick little backstory. A mother was laying in bed with her daughter watching TV when she received a notification on her phone letting her know that there was someone downstairs in the kitchen. When she looked at the cameras, an image of her son appeared in the cameras downstairs. This was impossible due to the fact that her son had passed away due to an overdose 2 years prior. Both her and her daughter confirmed that that was in fact like her son standing there, and there was absolutely no evidence of anybody breaking in, or it could be someone else. Like, this was truly an image of her son captured on camera. Now I'm gonna show you the picture. So as you can see, this is the kitchen, and that is her son right there. Like, you can clearly see it. I'll try to zoom it in so you can get a better look. So here's a closer look. I mean, I feel like her son has not moved on and he's still lingering around, maybe reliving the same day over and over again. I feel like when a person passes away from an overdose, it's such a shock and it's such an unexpected thing that a lot of times they don't even realize that they're gone. It may be the case for this. I mean, I don't know the family personally, but I definitely recommend doing some type of like just ceremony to just help him cross over.
That's interesting right there when she said that it's like he's stuck there. I'm pretty sure they said like hell is just basically reliving the same day over and over and over again. But that'd be sad if that's what was happening to him.
This is going to be your reaction at the end of this story. In a chilling post a few years back, a guy wrote, "My girlfriend moved out 3 weeks ago, and my cat Ruck was really close to her, and now that she's gone, I can tell he's a bit lonely, especially when I'm at work. I came home a few times to my curtains ripped up or toilet paper in shreds. And the last straw was when I came home after working late to find he had clawed a hole into the side of the sofa. I decided to do something. I tried different toys, even catnip, but nothing worked. One night while browsing Amazon, I saw a pet camera. It's a tiny camera that records your pet on a live feed so you can monitor their behavior while you're away. I got overnight shipping and installed it immediately. I decided to set it up in my bedroom as that's where my cat spent most of his time. The first day at work, I think I checked that camera 30 times. When I spoke into the microphone, my cat seemed to be happier and I noticed there was no more destruction around the house either. By day 4, I figured I'd solve the problem with my cat. That leads me to right now. About 30 minutes ago, I climbed into bed with my cat, ready to close my eyes, when my phone buzzed. A notification from the pet cam. I almost ignored it, sure I'd just trigger the thing, but I opened it anyways. Instead of a video of myself in bed, I saw a man, tall, gangly, with pale skin and large eyes. He was moving into my room with exaggerated steps, like a sneaking cartoon character. He walked right up to the lens and smiled. I immediately paused the video, terrified. I looked at the spot where the man should have been standing, but there was no one there. I went onto Amazon and found the pet cam and read the reviews, hoping for some weird glitch. It had to be a joke, right? The first dozen reviews were pretty standard, but it was the last that caused me to bolt upright. The customer complained that the camera was on a time delay, sometimes as much as 15 minutes. I went back to the video and pressed play with shaky fingers and watched in horror as the man slithered under my bed, giving the camera a wink before disappearing into darkness. Then I saw myself enter the room and climb in bed before the video ended. Now I'm sitting in bed knowing he's under it. I could call the police, but I doubt I'd have the time. So please do yourselves a favor and read the reviews. You're making that face, aren't you? This one? Knew it.
I'm not gonna lie, a delay up to 15 minutes is insane. And how that guy knows there's a camera there, smiles at the camera, and then hides under the bed in front of the camera like the guy wouldn't eventually check the cameras.
This has got to be the best footage of a Skinwalker caught on camera. It's very creepy. Watch.
Nerede? Tamam gördüm. Gördüm bir dakika bak. Gördüm. Boynuzlu abi. İşte. Ahmet bu boynuzlu şaş yapar mı Ahmet? Boynuzlu şaş yapar bak. Burayı koruyan boynuzlu şaş yapar, bu çok güçlü. Çok güçlü Ahmet, sakın panik yapma bak. Başına büyük bir sıkıntı gelebilir, sakın panik yapma bak. Görüyor musun? Şu an bize bakıyor. Ben şimdi çıktı bu ortaya. Bu tılsımla çıktı ortaya.
Nah, because what is that? It'd be looking like this dude from Pan's Labyrinth.
I don't know, folks. Let me know in the comments below.
I feel like I've heard about a lot of Skinwalker sightings, but some don't really question, like, I wonder if those are real. Do you think Skinwalkers are real? Put it down in the comments.
This is the most unsettling video I've ever seen.
Be prepared to bleach your eyes out.
What? What's wrong with you? Do what?
I'm not gonna lie, in my head I'm just thinking the whole time, like, from the other dude's point of view, not the dude that's like, oh my god, help me, the dude that's like, eh, man. I'm like, yo, to this dude, he's probably just looking at this dude like, oh my god, can you, what?
This is a true horrifying story, part 79. This story took place in Saudi Arabia. Back in the 1960s, there was a Saudi Arabian family, a husband, a wife, and 7 children, sons and daughters. The husband's father was a very old, sick man, and he died from his illness during these days. After the funeral, the wife and her husband continued living their lives with their children. One night, the wife had a dream, a very vivid one. She dreamt in a woman dressed in black approaching her, and the woman told her, "My name is Aisha. I will protect you, your husband, your children, and your grandchildren from all evil till the day I die. I promise." She woke up stunned, and she never shared this dream with her husband. A few years later, in the early 70s, the husband sadly passes away, and the children were still very young. This widow raised her children until they all grew up, got married, and had their own children. Today, this widow is a grandmother to many grandchildren. One day, all of her own kids go to her and they tell her that many of their own children get frequent dreams about a woman dressed in black named Aisha, and how Aisha will always protect them. But how could it be that almost all of the grandchildren got the same dream that their grandmother had in the 60s? This grandmother swore to never tell anyone about this dream, but now it is concerning. She got in touch with her sister-in-law, hoping maybe she would have an answer. The sister-in-law told her, "My father, which is your father-in-law, the father of your deceased husband, was married to a jinn named Aisha since the 40s. And every time someone tried to harm us using black magic, it never worked. Aisha was stopping it." The grandmother later asked, how is she still alive to this day? And her sister-in-law responded, Aisha is hundreds of years old. Jinns live longer than we do. Aisha's kind is also not any kind. She is very powerful. She also comes around in my dreams, my children's and my grandchildren's, telling us that we will always be protected by her. But why? The grandmother asked. The sister-in-law responded, because she loved her husband and she promised him that his family will always be protected.
I mean, sounds like more of a blessing than a curse to me. If someone was just always looking over you, making sure you're protected, can't complain. I bet all of us wish we had something. We probably do have something looking over us.
What? A woman from Washington named Lori was chatting with her best friend Shayna on an app called Marco Polo, which allows users to record and send videos to each other in real time.
Coffee. It's not really doing me any good.
As Lori talks, a small dark figure is seen dashing in and out of the frame behind her as she films. Her friend replied and asked her, is there someone in the house with you? Lori said she was alone and said her heart stopped when she replayed the footage. She immediately left her apartment and stayed with her daughter until she could have the apartment blessed and cleansed. I would be so out of there, it's crazy. That thing, how it moved, what do you make of it?
I don't blame her. I'd have been out of there too. I was looking at it like, yo, does she have grandkids in the back? I was like, is that like, because it didn't look like an adult, it looked like a child. I was like, does she have kids in the back? But nah, it was just a demon.
This is the scariest incident a person can face on an aircraft. Less than a week ago, a video has been leaked from a domestic Chinese flight. In the video that you see, a Chinese man suddenly wakes up in full panic mode. He claimed that he was stuck in a time loop and the time that he woke up in was the 6th cycle. He claimed that in all the previous cycles, the plane crashes and everyone dies. And right then and there, the time loops again.
The thing about airplanes is you don't really want to be screaming and stuff like that because not everyone, but a lot of people are like paranoid of the air. So seeing a guy like that, I'll probably be like, oh nah, maybe it is gonna crash. Like I'll start thinking a lot.
Have you guys ever heard of the game called Charlie Charlie? I have my dog here for emotional support because this story had me shook. So the game Charlie Charlie is essentially, I guess, like a homemade Ouija board type of thing. You essentially write on a piece of paper and you put 2 pencils balancing each other and you go and ask a yes or no question. Again, I don't recommend you do this. Depending on how the pencil balances gives you your answer, if it's like a yes or no. But again, you're speaking to the unknown. You have no clue what you're contacting. Now, story time. This story was submitted by Camilla, so I went ahead and tagged her down below. I had to turn the light on because it was getting kind of dark. Hopefully it's not because of the story I'm about to share. So when Camila was about 8 years old, she was visiting her grandmother in Mexico. She had seen YouTube videos having to do with this game, so she decided to try it out. It was a raining, thundering night. She didn't have any pencils, so she decided to do it with Q-tips. She asked the game if there was anyone there, and the Q-tip started to move like rapidly, like around and around and around. This freaked her out, so she decided to stop the game. She didn't say goodbye, she didn't say anything, she just put the game away. Now that night, Camila woke up to the sound of someone singing a lullaby that was getting closer and closer to her. When she looked up, she saw that a woman and 4 kids were standing there staring down at her as she slept. Camila was of course terrified, so she woke her mom up, who happened to be laying in bed next to her. At first, her mom was annoyed because she's like, why are you waking me up in the middle of the night? Until her mom also heard the lullaby music. Camila's mom's first thought was that it was probably Camila's older brothers playing a prank on them, until she realized that they were sleeping. At this point, Camila loses it and she starts screaming hysterically, which wakes her grandmother up in the next room. Her grandmother rushes in and opens up the blinds. The minute she opens up the blinds, these people disappear. But mind you, even though her mom heard the lullabies, Camila was the only one that saw them. Camila really thought that that was going to be the end of it, until she realized that when she went back home, back to the States, these things follow her home. Till this day, these things taunt her and torment her and watch her. There's not a day that goes by that she doesn't run across these things.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd be freaked out too. I'd be like, what? And it's crazy because she thought the brother was playing a prank at first just for them to be asleep. I'd be like, nah. Just one of those situations where I'd just run out of the house, just never to be seen again.
Let's talk about the UFO congressional hearing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit scared. When I show you these clips, you're gonna understand why, okay? Like, this is real. The government is now addressing aliens / UFOs. So if you guys don't know, today Congress held a UFO hearing. The witnesses on the stand were Ryan Graves, a former US Navy pilot, David Grush, a Pentagon UFO whistleblower, and David Fravor, a former US Navy commander, with all of them talking about their experience with UFOs. So the hearing is about 2 hours and 19 minutes. So I'm gonna show you a couple clips from that hearing that are pretty significant. So in this one, Miss Mace asks this.
Do you believe we have crashed craft? Stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
So what do they mean by non-human? Like aliens? Anyways, on to the next clip. So in this next clip, Mr. Garcia basically asks this.
Briefly, either describe or note that aircraft that are being witnessed, particularly by the 30 folks that you're working with, are essentially outside the scope of anything that we know of today and the technology we have today. Mr. Graves, Mr. Fravor?
Yes, the objects that are being seen by commercial pilots are performing maneuvers that are unexplainable due to our current understanding of our technology and our capabilities as a country, and that applies for the military as well.
Mr. Fravor?
Yeah, I concur with that. We have nothing that can stop in midair and go the other direction, nor do we have anything that can, like in our situation, come down from space, hang out for 3 hours, and go back up.
Mr. Gresh, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
So basically these UFOs are so high in technology that we cannot understand them. It gets scarier, okay? So in this one, Mr. Burleson asks this.
There has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least the activity that I personally witnessed, and I have to be very careful here because they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So what I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
Do you see why I'm scared now? He said disturbing. What do you mean by that? So basically a lot of things are getting hidden from us and we have to worry about UFOs and possibly aliens. The fact that we have 3 people that held such high powers of position makes it so much harder to not believe it. But I don't know, what do you think? Me personally, I'm more scared, especially when he said disturbing. What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Yeah, I've heard about that. I remember when that first came out, I was like, UFOs. It's like, I feel like we've kind of already know that they were hiding it. I know a lot of people that do already believe that aliens have the technology to come to Earth. They just don't really choose to show themselves. And if they do show themselves, it's not anything where it's like, oh, we're invading the planet. It's more like they're trying to check us out to see what's going on, make sure everything's good. From what I know in this universe, there's always good, and then there's always bad. So if we haven't been obliterated yet, and there's aliens here, I don't necessarily think they're here to cause us harm. Hopefully.
This is a case where I truly feel like it's possible that she may still be out there. On March 21st, 1998, 23-year-old Amy Lynn Bradley and her family board a cruise ship in Puerto Rico that's destined for Curacao. On the second night of the cruise, the family attended this fancy dinner, they got all dressed up, and the cruise staff took pictures of everyone and afterwards displayed the photos so that anyone could go and buy them as a souvenir. But when the family went to view their photos that were taken that night, they realized that all of the pictures featuring Amy were missing. Just a quick note that I do cover this case in full detail on my most recent episode of the Oddities on Elm Street podcast, if that's something you want to check out. After this dinner, Amy and her brother Brad decide to go to the ship's nightclub. It's at this nightclub that Amy is seen dancing with a man named Alistair Douglas, aka Yellow. It's also important to note that Yellow was the bass player for the band that was playing at the club that night, meaning that he was an employee of the cruise ship and had access to restricted areas. It's known that Amy did make it back to the family's room that night as she sat out on the balcony and had a conversation with her brother before he headed to bed. Amy's father woke up and could see the balcony from his bedroom. When he looked out onto the balcony, he could see Amy still sitting there in the chair. But by the next time he rolled over and looked, she had vanished. After searching for Amy with no luck, the family decides to get the ship's security involved. But they refuse to help. Even worse, the ship is about to dock in Curacao and everyone, including anyone who might have seen Amy last, is allowed to get off the ship. The ship's officials claim to have searched for Amy and they weren't able to locate her either. So the Bradley family, believing that Amy is not on the ship, decides to grab their luggage and get off on the island of Curacao to try and find their daughter. It later becomes known that the ship officials only searched for Amy in the common areas and in some of the bathrooms. So the Bradley family gets the FBI involved, and this guy Yellow is at the top of their suspect list. When he's interviewed, he claims that the last time he saw Amy was around 1 a.m. on the night of her disappearance. But we know for a fact that that's not possible. A man named Chris Fenwick was at the club that night filming a promotion for the cruise line. And in the background of his video, he captured Amy dancing with Yellow at around 3:30 in the morning. Even more suspicious is that on the morning that Amy has disappeared, Yellow approaches Amy's brother Brad and says, "I'm sorry to hear about your sister." But at this moment in time, nobody else on the cruise ship knew that Amy was missing. Years go on after her disappearance, but there are some credible sightings of Amy Lynn Bradley, including that of a Canadian tourist who described her distinctive tattoos in detail. They said they saw her on the beach in Curacao with 2 other men. There was also a sighting that was reported by a member of the U.S. Navy. He claimed that while he was in Curacao, he visited a brothel, and while he was in there speaking English, an American woman came up to him and said, "My name is Amy Lynn Bradley, please help me." He didn't report it because he was afraid of getting in trouble because he was active duty and not supposed to be at a brothel. So by the time the FBI was able to look into it, the brothel had been burnt to the ground. Then, in 2005, the family receives an email with this picture attached. This picture is supposedly of a woman named Jazz and was taken off from a website for sex workers in the Caribbean. But as you can see here, there is an uncanny resemblance. Lastly, as the family was retracing their steps of that night on the cruise ship, they remembered something else. At the formal dinner, Amy was continuously approached by a waiter who was trying to pass her a note. The note said that they wanted to take her out for a drink once the boat docked in Aruba. Amy assured her family that she would not go with them because the staff creeped her out. But the restaurant that they wanted to get a drink at was the last known location of another American woman, 18-year-old Natalie Holloway, who disappeared in 2005.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that story was a little bit strange. I mean, hopefully she did not get trafficked into being a worker like that. I don't know, it was a little bit sus because that one dude that was like, oh yeah, sorry for your loss before everyone knew she was gone, that was a little bit interesting. I wonder what he had to do with it.
The thing that keeps me up at night is the story of the Columbine High School massacre and Rachel Scott. So Rachel Scott was a 17-year-old senior at Columbine. She was a victim of bullying, but she kept a journal. What's even crazier than that, she said that she had spoken to 2 guys who ended up being the guys who did the massacre. In the journal, she talked about how she knew that all that they needed was a friend. So the morning of the massacre, Rachel was the first person to arrive on campus. She was waiting for the doors to open and everything. What's even crazier than that, that's when they arrived on campus and they shot her twice. They had left and they came back about 30 minutes later and saw she was still breathing. One of them grabbed her and said, "Do you still believe in God?" And she said, "Of course I do." And he said, "Okay, well, go be with him." And he shot her in her head and killed her. What's even crazier than that, 2 hours before the massacre, she drew a picture. It's of a face that's crying, and the face drops 13 tears that land on a flower. After the flower, there's 13 blood drops. There were 13 people that died in Columbine High School that day.
He said, "Do you still believe in God?" And this, dang, dude, that's kind of heartless. It's really sad, actually. And it's funny because she was actually the only person that, I don't know if technically she did anything in real life, but she was the only person that wrote down and said, you know, I think all these 2 guys just need is just some friends. Just for them to do that to her. R.I.P. Hopefully her soul rest in peace.
Right. I received a letter from the White House, from President Obama.
Wow.
Someone who was often a target of her jokes, as was Mrs. Obama.
I'm with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
No, Michelle is a trans.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
But I received a handwritten note saying not only did she make us laugh, she made us think.
God, it's so wrong on so many levels. And it actually strikes fear in me that somehow, someday, somewhere, that will get out.
In my opinion, it was 100% preventable.
Over the past few months, the Obamas have been in the spotlight. This was after the death of their former chef. There are theories that they might be behind it, but there is no evidence to support that. So, at the moment, that is just a theory, just as people claim that Obama is gay. However, there is yet another case that once caught the media's attention. This is the case of Joan Rivers. The recent developments behind the late comedian have caused quite a stir. When Joan Rivers passed away, many people mourned as they remembered her wit and irreverent humor. And as the spotlight intensifies on these perplexing circumstances, a tangled web of secrets and uncertainties is starting to unravel. Now, there are rumors of a letter from Barack Obama that silenced Joan Rivers' daughter. Not only that, but there is also a conspiracy surrounding Joan Rivers that has recently been revealed. But what are people saying about all this? And what letter is this? Well, let's find out. Right now, there is a very bright spotlight on 2 circumstances. This is the demise of comedian Joan Rivers and the death of Obama's former chef. These 2 instances have revealed several secrets which have cast shadows on the lives of those involved and left the public wanting answers. With all the recent events, a certain aura of suspicion surrounds the Obamas. The recent death of Obama's chef has caused speculation about the potential connection to Joan Rivers passing away in 2014. This speculation has continued to spread, prompting contemplation about whether there is more to the Obamas than we know. Everything became more intense when the former personal chef of Obama met an untimely death. This unfortunate event happened shortly after news started that the chef was working on a book that might reveal some secrets about the Obamas. Because of these circumstances aligning, there have been many speculations about their potential links.
The secrets of the Obamas? It's kind of strange how the chef was trying to do secrets of them. Joan Rivers also exposed secrets of them, and then they both got killed. What are they hiding, though? Is Michelle really a man? Is that what they're hiding? If they're hiding that, I was like, come on, bro. There's no point of hurting people over that. It's not even that crazy, bro. I like how in the middle, it was like, is Obama gay? I was like, that'd be mad. That'd be really controversial. I'm not going to lie. Remember to check out the chains down in the description, the astrology bracelet, the astrology chain, all of that. If you guys like the video, like the video. Thank you for watching. Peace out.